Well, let me tell you how excited I am about today. My co-host is Tammy Kling. And if somebody would have told me when I met her that she would be one of the first people outside of our family that I shared even my childhood abuse with, I wouldn't have believed it. On top of that, our special guest that she's going to help me co-host with is Tony Jeary, the results guy, which I met him in a casual conversation, and I wish I would have had a notebook because that's how many nuggets he's going to drop on you. So help me welcome Tammy as my co-host. Tammy, great to have you here.
Hi there.
Yeah. And then let's get Tony up. And then Tony, the results guy, thanks for making the time.
You bet.
Yeah. So I know a lot about you, but tell everyone a little bit about who Tony Jeary is.
I'm Tammy Kling's friend.
That's fair.
Yep. And I'm now your friend, Tanya.
That's right. I'll take it.
I'm here at my results center. What people might want to know about me is that I have worked for 40 years picking up distinctions to help people grow. And all those books behind me are books that I've written over the years, and I love helping people grow. God's really blessed me with the ability to encourage people and inspire people. And a lot of people know me as the best practices guy. I look for best practices and I serve them up over and over and over. Done it for 40 years. Been so blessed. I've worked with the presidents of Tanya, of Walmart, Sam's, Ford, Shell, Texaco. I've coached the people at the very top of billion dollar companies for 30 something years. And I take all that wisdom of everybody and sort it and organize it and see if I can share it in a way that helps people be better.
Well, and both of you at some point in some way had a relationship with Zig Ziglar. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, Zig was my partner for 18 years. Go ahead, Tammy.
Well, I met Zig actually through Tony, yes. And I was at his 80th birthday party and, of course, had some profound moments as we do with all mentors and people that kind of, drop nuggets into the world, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Zig was my partner, Tanya. My coach, I've had the same coach for 38 years. And in 1989, he said, you need to go meet Zig. And I said, good idea. I'll call him up, go have dinner with him. He goes, well, it's not going to be that easy. And I called his office and they invited me to his house that Sunday night. And I called my coach back and said, I'm going to Zig Sunday. He goes, no way. And I said, yeah. And so I ended up staying up till 1:30 in the morning at his home that night. And what most people didn't know is they made a mistake. They thought I was in his Sunday school class. And they invited me to his home.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. And then we didn't stay connected for a while. And then I was on a plane going to Chrysler. I had invested many years helping turn around Chrysler when Lee Iacocca left many years ago. And Zig was sitting next to me with his president, Jim Norman, who later became my president. And we started connecting. Zig hired me within a few weeks. One of the things that most people don't know is Zig really put a lot of emphasis on improving people. And I put most of my emphasis on improving businesses. And he wanted to have my insights on how to improve businesses. And so they hired me. We ended up becoming friends. And then my very first book that was officially out was called Inspire the Audience. And we did a joint venture where his company licensed a course that we developed around that book. And we became the foundational presentation course for the Zig organization for many, many years. Yeah. So I had a lot of experience with Zig. Had a lot of impact on me.
Yeah. And I know that wasn't necessarily where I was going. It's just one of those things that, right, the amount of wealth of information and nuggets to put into one room. Because Tony, you dropped more on me that night when I met you in a casual conversation than I probably have picked up in a year of trying to follow other people. So when you say results guy, what also comes to mind to me is the detail. You make it so simple.
Yes.
Intentionality is a big deal. My big claim to fame is clarity, focus, and execution. That was given to me by Zig's son-in-law before he passed away. And he asked me to take that to the world. So every day it's up on my ceiling, it's everywhere here in the Results Center. And the simplicity of it is, and people say that, Tanya, just what you said, is people say, man, do you really need to be that clear? And we believe that the more clear you are, the more pulling power you have. Earl Nightingale said it years ago that you become what you think about. And if you're clear and think about it, you get pulling power. And then so many people are distracted. Everybody, we fight it. It's a fast-paced world, right? Right. And then how do you really take those distractions and turn it into focus? The most profound thing that came out of all these books, Tanya, was the center of that focus word, which is called high leverage activities. And what we found is most people burn about 20 to 30 hours a week in low leverage activities. And then the last word of the clarity, focus, and execution model is execution, and you got to take action. So that's it's a big deal to us.
Well, you mentioned high leverage, right, and low leverage. Give us an example of what you mean. What might be a high leverage execution versus a low leverage?
A lot of people don't delegate to the level they could. So a low leverage activity might be putting gas in your car. So if you have an assistant and your assistant's putting gas in your car and you're out doing your thing, whatever that thing is, running a company, building a business, impacting whatever you're doing, that could be a low leverage activity. And a higher leverage activity might be talking, thinking, planning, strategizing with a client, a customer. And so many people burn minutes, hours, in fact, days in a given year on low leverage activities because they don't even have it on their window. They don't see time. In fact, Tanya, did you know, and I think you know this, you've heard this from me, Tammy, is when I ask the world, when I go around the world and I ask this question, and I can ask our viewers today, how many hours are in a week? Only about 1 in 20 can answer that question. Most people sit there and try to calculate, 7 times 24 and figure out it's 168 hours. And so a big aha to me is so many people burn through hours and they use the word, how am I going to spend my time this week instead of how am I going to invest my time? And changing that mindset, once you understand you only have 168 hours until we can come out with time travel, that's where we're at, right, Tammy?
Yeah.
That's where we're at.
I think once you sit down, that you make a good point. Once you sit down and do a whole schematic on how you're spending the hours in your whole week, you get to see that distraction. And Tanya, that's one of the things that we talk about at the conversation is just in the distraction circle is how, and Tony's been there, how distraction leads to destruction. It's funny you're bringing this up because I wrote a whole thing on this morning. I dictated it. So I was stacking while I was on a walk and I dictated it about, distraction. And I think people don't even know when they're getting distracted by good things.
When you hear things from the conversation, Tammy, does everybody know what the conversation is?
Tanya can explain.
Yeah, no. So the conversation, I went to my first one. It was already happening at that point. I think 2017, and it's an invitation only, not networking event, right? Where about 100 people's max that would get invited. It's people from all over the world. Some have had interpreters because English was a second language, and there aren't name tags. I think it's similar a little bit, honestly, if we think about how I've had guests on the podcast. No one knows who they are until they go look them up, unless they already were aware of them, which is great, right? Clearly, Tony, you have a wide reach. But the whole point is learn from their journey, right? Don't try to hook onto them because you think they have money or they're going to do something for you. It's an opportunity to kind of unplug, have a conversation, and talk about things that maybe you can't talk about in your inner circle. I mean, for Tony, for you, for Tammy, when you've built at the level you have, it can be a little lonely up there.
It's interesting. It's a cool experience, Tammy. When did you originally start it?
Well, about 16 years ago. And I originally,
Wow.
Were you at the one where Chichi Rodriguez was there?
Yeah.
I remember you were there, Tony, and Tanya's right. We don't have name tags because we just want people to connect on a level of, not, wow, I want to sit next to that billionaire or that guy from this company or this company. I just want to connect with the human, and it's all about best practices and really important topics. If you think about it, we don't really talk about blind spots. Like, Tony, you may speak on blind spots, but we're not talking about that in the corporate world, or distraction. We're talking about increasing sales. I've been in the corporate world, and Tanya, I know you have been in the corporate world. You're talking about the life non-life drivers, but it's those important conversations that are missing, I think, from if you're going to have a sales team or a culture, why not talk about the important things?
Yeah, which actually leads me to a part about corporate. So Tony, take us back before the CEO's books and the Results Center. What early experiences started shaping the way you think about success, service, and results?
When I was 22, Tanya, I had a guy call me up and he said, I'll give you $5,000 to come over and invest 4 hours with you. And I was doing quite well financially, so the 5,000 wasn't that impressive at the time, but the ego. And I thought, wow, this guy, what does he want? So I was asking what he wants. He says, man, you know how to make money. I just want to talk to you. And that was a very impactful moment in my life, Tanya, because I realized that advice was something that I'd want to do with my life. And a few years later, when I went broke, I prayed a lot about it, and I decided to invest the rest of my career, my professional vocation, in being an advice guy. And in doing that, that was with my words, what I publish, what I tape, what I record, what I say. And that really changed the trajectory of my life. And then a few years later, a guy called me and said, would you help me coach the grandson of Hallmark cards? And so I got one of my first assignments. It wasn't really an official engagement, but kind of. I didn't get paid, but I got to go to Hallmark and I got to start coaching him. And that was kind of fun. And that just, that opened up my eyes, that advice and coaching was just a cool thing, changed my life. And then I got some lucky breaks, Tanya. I got a phone call one time in 91. A guy said, hey, Chrysler's hiring some consultants. I think I can get you a gig. And I needed a gig at that time because I had gone broke. And I don't recommend that, by the way, those that are listening. I don't recommend going broke. But if you do go broke and you do make mistakes like we all do, then you want to be able to learn from them, right?
Yeah.
And I got the phone call, and the phone call said, hey, I can get you an opportunity. And I ended up getting 157 total assignments from Chrysler, over $10 million over the years, and helped turn Chrysler around years ago. And it's been up and down over the years. But what that did is that opened up for me an opportunity to open up an office in Detroit. And then I got the president of Ford, the third largest company in the world, called on me to coach him. And then a year later, Lee Scott's daughter-in-law called and said, we need a coach for the president of Sam's. And then a year later, I'm coaching the president of Walmart, flying into where Tammy and I lived in Tour 18 at the time. I had a results center or studio in my backyard, and I'm coaching the president of the largest company in the world, flying into Tour 18 in Flower Mound, Texas, right? Tammy, I mean, just like, anyway, that's some of my history.
Yeah, but there's a few things in what you said in that, Tony. I think the first piece is you said, I went broke, right?
And I don't recommend it.
Right. But that's a big piece.
Right?
Well, you look at how much success you've had, and people would make this assumption that it's always just been on this incline. I didn't even realize there was this sort of going broke moment.
Yeah, I've been broke, I've been fat, I've been divorced, I've been sued, I've been embezzled. Like, you can name it all. Like, boom, 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 right? Everybody, it's life, right? It's the way God made the world, right?
How did you get yourself up from that, though? If you think about people in general,
up from being fat. No, I went down.
Well, whichever one. You name several life-changing things there. Going broke, getting divorced, gaining weight.
Oh, I got all kinds of stories. Which one do you want to start on? Let's make it exciting for our listeners, right?
Hey, it's your show. We're just here to guide you along.
I want to give them kernels, right? Right? I mean, I want to encourage people, give them kernels. What do you think? Where should we go?
Great lesson. I'm glad we're not glossing over that, Tanya, because
what, going broke?
Well, yeah, because for the people that listen, it's easy to be discouraged when you hear speakers, gurus, successful people, entrepreneurs. It's easy to get discouraged and think, gosh, I can't go from here to there, right? or to think, oh gosh, they had a lucky break, I'll never have a lucky break. That's just not true. If you look at even your personality, your behavior, Tony, same with you, Tanya. I think you have the say yes mentality, and you said yes, which is you said yes to a free gig, right? That was the first thing that led to something else. There are a lot of people that don't say yes. They immediately, and I know because I book speakers, and I wish I could tell you stories, but people that just say, "Oh, I'm not going to do it for 35,000 an hour because my rate's 45,000 an hour." They say no, 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 and then finally, you just know not to send anything to them. And
Yeah.
you said yes to a free deal that led to a $10 million in revenue with Chrysler and then Ford, and I
Yeah.
think it's an important moment to just be open minded.
Agree. 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 Agree.
I think it's easy for people to get in their own way or let their ego drive things. I think it's really important for people just to say yes, even if you don't have all the answers or the details. Just say yes. I mean, how many times have we, I know I have, said yes and then just figured it out later?
Sure.
Yeah. You got to take action, execution. So many people don't execute. How about, let's talk about goal setting for a minute, Tanya.
Of course.
Um, I want to start with a story. Well, I guess I got a couple fun stories. Let's see if we can make it entertaining. So my coach calls me up one day, Tanya, and he says, there's a guy I know that has more goals than you do. And I was like, sad. I was like, at that time I had like 50 pages of goals.
No way.
And I'm like, he's like, yeah, there's a guy out there. And I'm like, and he says, I can get a copy of his goals. And I'm like, get him. Man, I got to see this guy's goals. Sure enough, I don't remember the exact, what's that?
Peter Thomas?
Yeah, I don't remember the exact number, but it's like 75 pages. So I'm reading through his goals and I'm like, sure enough, the dude has more than me. And I'm like, oh my gosh. But then I saw his values were so aligned with mine that I thought, well, why don't I just take some of his goals? He's 25 years older. And in fact, we're going on a yacht in 3 weeks, Tanya, down in the Bahamas with him, doing a summit with Joe Polish and a bunch of, well, it's actually a total of 4 of us. Anyway, so I get the goals and it inspires me, and I'm going to take some of his goals because he already has thoughts of where he wants to travel. And I add about 50 pages of his goals to my 50 pages. Now I have 100 pages, so I have more goals than him. So I'm feeling like the king now.
Yeah.
So about 4 years later, I get an email on Saturday morning, and it's this guy, Peter. And he says, Tony, I know you don't really know me, but I got 3 things. Number one is I want to buy 100 of your strategic acceleration books. That whole clarity, focused execution concept is brilliant, and I want to give 100 of them away. Number 2 is I'd like to write a book with you. And I know you've written a lot of books. I've only written 1 or 2. And then number 3 is I would like to build $1 billion company with you. And he says, if you're interested, would you give me a call? And by the way, this is my goals today. Thank you. 178 pages today.
Wow.
That's a lot, right? Anyway, so sure enough, thank you. Sure enough, I call him up that day, about 2 hours later, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We talk for like 3.5 hours. He gets his wife on the line. 5 minutes later, we become best buds. 2 weeks later, Tanya and I get on a plane. We fly to Vancouver, and he challenges us to help him write the book. Can you grab that book for me, please? Business Ground Rules. Anybody that's around? And Tanya and I wrote that book with him, for him, together with him, and we put 100 of our best ideas together. And the book's called Business Ground Rules. Remember that, Tanya? Remember that?
Yeah.
Tammy, can you grab that Business Ground Rules?
As much as I'd like to say it was me, clearly the award-winning author is Tammy, and has a book publishing company. So
yes, I do remember sitting on the yacht in the middle of the ocean, and I remember being served a wonderful, and that's actually one of my favorite books still today.
There she is, right there. There's the yacht. There's Peter and I.
yeah.
And there's Tammy and I.
And his wife served us, and staff served us a fabulous lunch. And yeah, now that was an example of execution, because we did that whole book on the yacht in a few hours, half a day.
It was fast. Yeah, it was fast. There was a reason I brought that up. And the reason I brought that up was the subject of goals. So I'd like to ask our viewers to do a rating on themselves. And if you were going to rate yourself from 1 to 10 on how strong you are at goal setting, would the number you give yourself be where you'd want it to be? And what we teach a lot, Tanya, is most people, when they set goals, they think about the things they want to have.
Yeah.
And they don't think about things they want to give, share, experience, and most importantly, what do they want to become? So I wanted to become somebody that was really worth listening to. When I got that first gig and someone wanted me to teach them how to make money, and when I decided to really make my vocation, and by the way, here's another aha. Some people have a job, some people have a career, some people have a vocation. And a vocation is when you're living in your God-given talent every day, and work and play are the same. And a lot of people don't ever get there. They don't even know to get there. They don't even see to get there. Yeah. Right, Tammy? That's what we're doing for our kids, is helping them figure out what's their vocation. So every day, it doesn't matter if it's a Saturday, a Monday, a Wednesday, it's all cool, right? But a lot of people don't even know to get there. Anyway, so I'll summarize goal, and I'll turn it back to you, Tanya. On the whole thing, I just encourage everybody to really appreciate that the clearer you are of what you want to have, become, share, experience, and give, all 5 of those, chances are the better your life will be.
I love that give is part of that, because so often, and because of how noisy it is, the internet, you name it, we're surrounded by noise all the time, that people get in their own heads. And the quickest way to get out of your own head is to serve others. Right? And which goes back to...
Was Peter pumped up when we were serving him? Like, we were like, he had this vision, and man, we were like, Tammy's like, and that book has been so powerful. Yeah, it's translated in Spanish and bounced around the world. And I don't know if you knew this, probably people don't know that name, Peter Thomas, but he's the chairman emeritus of EO, the Entrepreneurs Organization. So he helped Vern years ago launch that organization back in the actually late 80s, 86, 87. Yep. So I believe in goals.
Well, so give it to them clearly. Like you asked them, you said on a 1 to 10, where do people think they are in goals, right? They should be rating themselves. And on top of, you said they should be focusing on who they want to become. What do they want to give? What were the other ones?
Share.
Experience.
And most people start off with a have. So there's 5 things: have, give, share, experience, and most importantly, become. Like I want to become and Tammy knows this well, we've talked about it for so many hours, days, in fact. I wanted to become the president of my kids' fan club. And I don't believe that's a commissioned title. It's an earned title. And so it's like 20 years of your life until they become adults. Did you pour into them in such a way that if you ask them when they're an adult, was my parents, was my dad, was my mom, were they the president of my fan club? And it's an interesting twist, right? You know, what does that look like? I just had that clarity. And when you look at my kids now, who sometimes will do a forward for one of my books, you know, they validate it, you know, again, not commissioned, earned, you know.
Right. Yeah.
So anyway, so my thoughts are on the become. Do you want to become an advisor? That's what I wanted. Did I want to become a great parent? I did. Did I want to be a great leader? I used to not be a great leader. I used to be a great doer, and I'd make stuff happen, and I would shoo leadership off to other people and hire people to handle it. And then I was like, no, be a great leader. How about a great leader? Does someone that works for you, if they said, am I better off every month, every year for working for you than someone else? And if they say yes, man, that's a sign of a good leader, right? If you're making them better, if you're guiding them, mentoring them, right? Opening doors for them, sharing with them things. A lot of people don't even see that. I didn't, right?
Well, you said you were a great lead. You weren't a great leader. You were a great doer. Tell us a little bit about the epiphany of when you recognized that you were doing rather than leading.
Well, let's go back to when I went broke. Going broke was painful. Like I had a reverse prenuptial agreement. You ever heard of one of those?
Oh.
No.
So I had 26 lawsuits against me. My net worth was negative $1 million. And I lived in a common law state. So when I married my wife, without that, she would assume my debt. And that was terrible, right? I mean, that's pretty bad, right? Bad. And what was my point on that?
So you had a
Goals? What was that?
prenuptial.
Yeah, and so I did that. But you triggered a question, Tanya. Now, there was a point in doing that. Goal setting,
I
going
said,
broke.
when did you realize about that you were more of a doer than a leader?
Oh, thank you. So when I
Yeah.
went broke, Tanya, here's what I said. I got to work. Like, I got to step it up. Like, you
Yeah.
know, I'm married now, have a beautiful wife. My wife wants to have a family, and I got to step it up. And so I worked like nobody outworked me. Nobody. I hit, just a few years ago, I hit 5 million miles on my American Airlines app. And that doesn't count all the other airlines or my non-rev travel. I mean, just miles and miles and miles. I would,
Yeah.
like, a plane would break and I'd land somewhere and I'd rent a car and I'd go somewhere and I never missed a day. And I worked and worked and worked. And I just was like, like anybody that's like down, if you want to like get up, work, work. Now, a better distinction though, is when you're working is to make sure that you're converting the value to dollars, and then you're taking those dollars and investing them so that the dollars can work for you. Right. So it's like the whole game of life in America is not just doing and earning from the value of your effort. You know, I charge $2,000 and $3,000 an hour, which is a fantastic fee, but it's not near as cool as, I told you that Peter said I wanted to build $1 billion company with you. Well, we started a company, bought it for $4 million, and this year we'll sell it for nearly $400 million. And it's on its way to being $1 billion. And that came from the clarity. And over the years, that's really done well for me because I made money in my sleep.
Yeah.
But I started out working hard and then saving and then investing, right? It's not like I'm like the smartest guy in the world on that, right? Everybody knows you work hard, save money, invest it, and invest it smartly. And then pretty soon you are in pretty good shape, That's my thinking.
The investing piece, I think, is a part where most of major America struggles.
They don't even see it on their window, Tanya. They
Yeah.
see work harder, save money. They don't
Yeah.
see work harder, save money, make that investment of the money work for you.
Right.
I mean, we hear it in the world and on social, that most people don't really get that. Man, if you do that sooner than later, I wished I'd done it 20 years earlier. Man, I mean, I skipped out on decades.
How do you think if you had been investing back before that burst, how do you think that would have had the burst play out?
Well, here's the distinction. I did invest. What happened was I didn't diversify. So I went bust because a lot of people did. Oil changed. It
Right.
dropped like 70% overnight. And real estate in many states dropped like 50, 70% overnight. So it was like, I wasn't the only person that, was dumb. And what I see now is my portfolio today is so diversified. It's like, because I learned, like, don't put all your eggs in one basket and the world can change. Tax laws can change. Real estate can change. Crypto can change. Gold can change. Gold went up to what? I don't know, 5,000 an ounce. Then it dropped 20% in the last, I don't know how many days, 60, 40 days, 45, 60 days. I mean, things go up and down. Diversify. Anyway, that's my thoughts on investing. Diversify, I have franchises. I got a little bit of everything.
So back to the doer leader. So you came out of the burst doing, like, I got to work, I got to get things done, and said you were a good doer, not a good leader. Where was that moment that you said, now I've got to stop doing more and start leading more?
Over time, as I coached and published people's books that were at the top, I would admire leadership distinctions more and more. And then I started looking at my own head saying, am I doing that? And then I would, if you're open enough to look at yourself in the mirror, say, I'm not doing what I could, or I'm not as intentional as I could be. I mean, that's a big deal. Look at yourself in the mirror. Like, do you really look at how many people do not audit themselves, Tammy, right? They don't sit there and go, how'd they do last year? How'd they do last month? And then you look at all the roles in your life. How you doing as a parent? How you doing as a friend? How you doing as a sibling? What's that?
I think a great question to your point that I asked myself just a couple weeks ago is, am I doing, if I wanted to achieve like the pinnacle of goals? Am I doing everything I could do to live up to my fullest potential? That's a great question for everyone to ask themselves, because it's not, Tanya or Tony, are you doing everything you could do to become a billionaire or to beat your competition? I mean, I know none of us sees any competition. I know I don't. I don't even have a competitor. I don't think that way. It's just not in my nature. But I did ask myself, am I doing everything I could do to live up to my highest God-given potential and peak performance? And the answer is always, it was no, because there's all these little areas that I know I could improve, but also areas where, you tend to get lazy, right? And I mean lazy, even if you're not lazy, whether it's your workout and you only work out for 15 minutes and you want to achieve results and you want to take a shortcut, right? Or whether it's how many people have written a love note recently, within the last 5 days, 10 days, a love note to their child, right? And I mean pen and paper. I don't mean like a text, which we're all used to, but a real love note, right?
Yeah.
And I've been carrying around these love notes blank, right, for my kids for, gosh, probably 3 months, because it's that important to me to write them a note individually to tell them how great, but I haven't done it yet because it's so important, right? I'm going to do it. And that's the thing, is it's so important that we put it off, right? Or it seems so weighty, but you just got to do it. You just got to execute.
Maybe I wrote an 11-page letter to my kids, grandkids, future great grandkids over the last month.
I love that.
Because Noni is my 26-year editor. She knows me well. She helped me write it, Tanya. And I wrote it in such a way that it would truly impact generations. And if someone has kids that's listening to this and hadn't done what Tammy's saying and writing letters to your kids, man, that's a blind spot, It's so
And your
powerful.
future grandkids. That's important also. And I've done that because they're not going to be, you may or may not be around, right, for them. But I think we all wonder where we came from. We all wonder where we got certain traits. It's not about us, right? It's about legacy. So I love everything we're talking about. And I love that question, how intentional are you, number one? How intentional are you in telling everybody that you truly love, how much you love them, even friends? Because we do kind of hold back, especially like when it's a male female relationship, because you don't want to be weird or creepy, right? But how many times do we tell people how much they matter? Well, I think we tend to do. I know Tony and I really are good with strangers, about encouraging and lifting up strangers, right? And I'm always challenging myself. Do I treat, the ones I love the most the way that I just treated that stranger? And hopefully the answer is yes, but I think that I know I can be more intentional. I know I
Yeah,
can
let me
be.
give you triggered 3 things. Here's 3 things. When you sign a ticket at a restaurant, how many people write a note to the waiter or waitress?
Yeah.
Often. And if you're not doing that, that's cool.
I write
What's that?
I always write a Bible verse on there.
Oh, that's even better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
But an encouragement, Joshua or something like that,
We all three believe books can change lives. And your famous words are currency, Tammy. And I read a book that really had an impact on my life, several. One I want to bring up right now, Tanya, that was written by Gary Keller, and it's very popular. It's called The One Thing. And when I read that book, I thought my one thing was results, because I'm the results guy and I help people get results. And what that really helped me understand, that book did, is my one thing is thinking. And I went back, Tammy, you don't know this, I went back and analyzed my upbringing, and I was not very good at sports. Tanya, did you play sports?
I did.
Did you, Tammy? Did you
I'm
play
like, I was super competitive though, so don't ask me if I was good because I was really good.
Not.
I played basketball one year, and the entire year I scored 2 points. That's how bad I was.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
So, but I played chess, and I was in the news when I was in high school because I was pretty good at chess, and it was talking about Tony's a thinker. And what I've done is I realized in reading that book, the one thing and thinking is that's what I help people do. As I help people think, and I help them think about more clarity, I help them think about more focus, I help them think about their goals, I help them think about their values. And I think anybody that's listening to this might want to ask themselves, what's your God-given real gift? And mine is helping people think.
Yeah.
Inside that, I encourage people. And so every day when I get up, I'm like, what can I write that would encourage somebody in such a way that they would think better? And when you invited me, Tanya and Tammy, to be your guest today, I was like, man, I'm just on my schedule. I don't usually do this. And I thought, you know what, maybe I could have an impact. And so, hopefully there's a few kernels that people are getting that they say, that was a good one for me. And maybe that one is, what's your God-given talent? Are you living in your vocation? And if you're doing what you're best at, which is me helping people think. In fact, when you walk into my office, Tanya, did you walk in my office when you were here?
I
Do you
did.
remember the big word think above I have a word think about 10 feet long on the top of
Oh,
my office.
sure.
So when I walk in, it reminds me to help people think, So anyway.
That's so good. Playing chess makes so much sense, Tony, based on just my interactions with you, because the strength behind chess is strategy. And
How about this one, Tanya? How old are your kids?
My kids are 31 and 30.
Did you ever teach them to play chess?
I did not teach them chess.
I taught my kids to play chess from the time they were 6 and 7. And I had the intentionality of exactly where you're going,
Yeah.
right? I wanted to go ahead where you were going.
No,
with
it's
the whole
just because people can think, and thinking can be almost reactive, but when you combine thinking with strategy, right, you now are lying the course of intention because you can see it down the path. So I think you probably help people think, but I think above that, Tony, you help them strategically think. Because
For
anybody
sure.
can have a thought about dinner, anybody can have a thought about whatever.
Here's one
But
for
how
you.
do you take that thought and turn it into productivity?
Which is more powerful, being intentional or being strategic? Or is the answer to be intentionally strategic?
Intentionally strategic.
Yeah, right. I played with those words, right, Tammy?
I love
Right?
that.
It's like if you're helping someone think, you're helping them be intentionally strategic about their business, their life, their parenting, their ministry, their whatever they're doing. And most people, in fact, I had a CEO, I'm on the phone with him this afternoon. He runs $1 billion public company. And he asked me a few years ago, he said, make sure when you're coaching my executives that they put thinking on their calendar because I'm paying them to think.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, that was an epiphany for me. I was like, wow, encourage your people to think. Is that like really cool? Like not just like, oh yeah, I used to really think about that. No, put it on their calendar. Take 30 minutes and think about that project, that initiative, that P&L, that company you're buying, whatever it is,
Yeah.
Right?
Not reacting to email, not reacting to all the influx of ideas and data that's coming at us. It's so important because people get burnt out so much that they can't even think. They can't think about anything except just responding or clicking out voicemail or email.
Well, most people think about it, guys, ladies. Most people are reactive.
Right.
I'm up in the morning at 5 o'clock in the morning and I am like planning the day around the world. I got things going everywhere and I'm planning. I'm shooting out texts and emails and voicemails and videos everywhere because I want to get the world going. And I want to be proactive, not reactive. And anything that happened in the previous 12 hours around the world that's in part of my business, I want to get it going, keep it going, right?
Take us through a day with Tony, if you don't mind. I think sometimes people think success comes easy and it doesn't. It comes with intention.
Well, I get up and my wife cooks me breakfast.
Ah,
She gives me a massage. She runs my bath water, comes in, gives me a little shampoo on the head, and wishes me the most incredible day. pats me on the back, plays my favorite music for me.
Tells you how
goes down-
amazing you are.
She turns up the air conditioning on the car, so it's all great. Or she, sometimes she volunteers to drive me, and I drive over to the results center. I live a block and a half away, and I jump on the phone and do a little podcast with Tanya and Tammy.
Yeah.
No,
Right.
that's not exactly it, but it's close. You want to know?
Of course. Like what time do you wake typically? What's your typical up time?
I usually wake up about 4 o'clock to go to the bathroom, and then I'm running through my phone to see if anything has been written or organized through the night that I can respond to, and then I usually will go back to sleep for a few hours, and then when I wake up, I start building a game plan for all the people on my teams, and I have a lot of different teams, and then I have decided at my age and where I've built for my life, Tanya, that I don't want any appointments before 10. So I very seldom have an appointment that happens. So I get to enjoy. I live in a penthouse. I overlook the lake. I get to go up and look out my big windows or step outside for a minute and pray, meditate. In fact, I have 27 different things I do in the morning. I drink water. I think hydration's important. I pray, I meditate, I look at my goals. My goals are laid out all over my environment. I appreciate. I have gratitude, Tanya. I mean, I literally like walk through my condo, and I'm thankful. Like I'm thankful that I don't have a lot of clutter in my house.
Sure.
Like I have one piece of art per room, and like I'm thankful that I can have the discipline to not like put too much stuff in my house, because that was a goal that I wanted to have. And I'm thankful for my closet and my wardrobe. And I usually take a bath for about 45 minutes instead of a shower. I read one time that the guy that built Aeon, W. Clement Stone, do you remember that story? Tammy, he would get up and take a bath and smoke a cigar and think. Did you know that?
Oh.
And he built the Combined Insurance of America, one of the largest insurance companies in the world. And he would get up every morning and thinking about, I thought that's kind of cool. I don't smoke a cigar anymore.
Well, we
I don't.
have our phones in our bathtub, to be fair. I'm a
Yeah.
big,
Oh yeah, for sure, right?
that too.
I got my little charger cord there hidden away so I can charge it. I got it going. Anyway, then I correspond with my office, and then I usually come in, and I'm very blessed. My office has a health shake made for me, and they have all my supplements ready for me to eat, and I have just the most beautiful team. And then we start looking at what's going on today again, movements, nuances, what's new that they don't know about. I don't know about, so they're briefing me, and we prepare for anything that's on my calendar. Then I usually finish my appointments at about 4:30, and then I'll have a business meeting afterwards, or a casual meeting, or I'll go to a board meeting, and that's a day in the life of Tony in 120 seconds.
Yeah. I love that you also shared, though, you go back to bed. You're intentional to not have appointments before 10 a.m., right? You designed your life and in your vocation to say, this is what matters to you. And it makes you even more productive than somebody who thinks, I've got to get up at 4 a.m. Now I've got to go do this thing. I've got to go do this thing. The way that you use your time.
Yeah, time is so valuable, Tanya. What I also would like to point out is I described what's good for me. So everybody has their own body. Everybody has their own, what's it called? The cycle starts with a C or an R.
Circadian.
What's it called?
Circadian
Rhythm. And you want to be able to think about how do you live in that highest level of health. And if you cheat yourself, which I did for years on sleep, you're not rebalancing your hormones. And that could mean you're not operating at peak performance. It could mean that you have inflammation that you don't even realize that could cost you later on in life. All those things matter. And in fact, I woke up, remember I mentioned earlier that I was fat. And I woke up when I was 50, I had breakfast with a guy, and I'll tie all this back to your question. And this dude had lost like 70 pounds. And this was before you had the cheat drugs. And I was like, dude, Ron, how do you look so good? What happened? He goes, Tony, I learned it's not about working out. I was like, well, what is it? Because you look great and I don't. And he said, it's about what you eat. And he wasn't exactly correct. What's really correct is what you absorb, which includes what you eat. But anyway, he was pretty accurate. And so I went on this lifelong tangent to change how I fueled my body. And I did not understand the difference between a carb and a fat or a protein. I just didn't understand it. And Tanya, for people that are listening, if you don't understand the basic understanding of your body, that's not good, right? Because you think about it, someone goes down on their health, and it's just giant. I've written 4 books on it now. I've written Strategic Health. Tammy, we wrote a book together on it, didn't? Did we write Ultimate Health?
Yes. Yep.
We wrote Ultimate Health. We wrote Strategic Health. We wrote Strategic Eating, and then my last book on health was called Trading Your Wealth for Your Health, Tanya. And I wrote that for wealthy people that needed to take some of their time and effort and money and pour it into their health instead of just making more money. Yeah. That's a aha that I saw. In fact, I had Jack, my next door neighbor, he and I own the Results Center together. He came over and brought several of his friends, and 3 of his friends are billionaires a few years ago. And they wanted to talk about my clarity, focus, and execution and all my books. And I started talking, and I mentioned the health book. And they said, wait a minute, and I'm paraphrasing it. They said, wait a minute, let's just talk about health. And I was like, yeah, because, right, like you can have all the big net worth statement and cash flow and money and all that. And if you're not at your peak performance, you know. All right, I'll shut up. I talk a lot, don't I, Tanya?
No, you are good. Back to
well,
when
this morning, when we were prepping, guys, so everybody knows, she's like, Tony, can you make sure and respond? I'm like, okay, no problem. I'll respond.
You serve so much, which this one I think will give you a great platform too. When someone is talented, driven, and working hard, but still not producing the result they want, where do you usually start looking?
And what's in their head?
Oh, tell us more.
A lot of times it's mindset. I don't feel I deserve it. They self-sabotage themselves. Their self-talk, right? You can have beautiful goals, but if you don't have congruent self-talk, so I start getting into their head. What are they thinking? What are they saying to themselves? That's where I start. You know, a lot of it's not how hard you work; it's how well you think.
I was reading a book. It wasn't one of yours. I'm sorry.
Oh,
it was.
I'll send you one.
It was what to say when you talk to yourself.
Yeah,
and
I've read that book.
What he said was that a normal child growing up in a normal household hears the word no 148,000 times from the time they can comprehend hearing it to 18 years old. And when polling audiences to ask how many of them heard affirmations of things they were going to do really well at, they could count maybe a handful of times. Yeah. So with your experience, because clearly you've been coaching people for 40 years.
My favorite book to give away, Tony, is called Strategic Parenting. And I start off with a concept that my best friend gave me, Bill Conley, and he gave me this concept that if you really are intentional, you are giving your kids parental privilege. And inside of parental privilege is the talk you give them, the words that they hear, just like you were pointing out from that author. Like, man, words matter, don't they, Tammy? They just matter. What do you say to yourself? What do you say to your kids? Like, you embed commands in people's brains by what you say. And man, it's just so many people they just not even studied the intentionality of words to your kids, words to your team members, words to yourself. You know, you got to start with that mind, you know, thinking what's in your head.
Well, and earlier you had said, what are you investing your time in versus spending your time on, right?
Yeah, how many people get that one wrong?
Yeah, because investing is very different than spending.
No, change it. How am I going to invest my day, right? Let me show you this book cover here. This is my favorite book to give away. And I've written 133 right now. And this, I don't forget what number this is. Strategic Parenting. And it's 100 things my wife and I did to raise extraordinary kids, right? To be intentionally strategic about what you do in raising your kids. A lot of people miss that.
If people want to order your books, Tony, where should they go as well? I don't want to miss this opportunity because you do have so much wisdom that you.
If you want them autographed, you can go to tonyjeary.com.
Okay.
If you want to just make it easy and buy it off Amazon, just click Amazon.
I'm going to drop that on the comment. There we go.
You could just type in my name. It's all over.
Oh, I got you. Yeah.
Yeah,
The
if you care to have it autographed, you know, buy it from me. If you want to make it easy, click Amazon.
Yeah. Well, and on this topic, I think this is a good question. Goes right along these lines. After more than 40, let's see, you built a long marriage, raised daughters, co-authored books with them, and now have grandchildren. What has family taught you about success that boardrooms cannot?
When you're my age, and I wrote a whole book on called The Legacy Advantage on your legacy, you really want to ask yourself, how good did my kids turn out? And that really is the whole family deal has said, you know, if you give yourself an A there, that's a pretty good life. Not like how big's my net worth? How many franchises did I build? Oh my gosh, I've written 132 books. Look how cool I am. Look at my monumental results center. It's so cool. When people walk in it, they go, oh, it looks like an Apple store. Man, Tony, you're so good. How well did your kids turn out?
Yeah.
How about that one?
Because there's a lot of people who've built things, right? What people want to see as success in general.
And that's cool.
And they don't, and they don't
That's
have
cool.
even have a relationship with their kids, though.
I got a fleet of cars, and I got drivers, and I got my Sprinter van, and I got cool stuff. I like having a nice wardrobe, you know. I just think, to your point, Tanya, a lot of people miss it. How good did your kids turn out?
Yeah.
You know, did they marry well? I just wrote a book 6 weeks ago. How to help your kids choose the best spouse. How about that one? When my kids were 6 years old, Tanya, we wrote down 11 characteristics of the men they were going to date and marry, and they ended up dating and marrying those men. We thought about it, prayed about it, and they ended up attracting those men, and they are now my son-in-laws.
They were intentional about it, right? It was,
They were 6 years old, and that list is still in my closet today as I think about that for my grandkids. Right?
That is so good.
People don't think that level. Why?
Right.
They don't read. They need to read Tammy's books. They need to read my books, your books, everybody's books. Read. How about this one? How about this one, Tanya? Here's one for everybody. Well, let me ask you guys first. About how many books are recommended to you to read in a given week with all your friends? Do you get 1 or 2 or 5 books a week if someone says, here's a good book?
Oh, Tammy probably gets more than me. Let's be fair. She does have a book publishing company.
A lot.
Here's what I do. I don't read books anymore. Watch this one. I take my learning language models, my chats and my pods, and I put rules in them, including my goals. And I ask either my team or I to go through and take a person's book and give me the biggest takeaways from that book in alignment with my values and goals. Understand, I'm not just asking for the summary. I'm not just doing Blinkist and getting the summary. I'm not just watching their video. I'm applying their 10, 20, 30 years of learning and concepts to what I value in my goals, and I'm netting it out. Is that not a cool thing?
It's definitely a way to collapse time.
Think about it. You're reading what someone has taken sometimes decades of their life to put into a book and applying very specifically the ahas, epiphanies, insights, lessons, what I call VIPs, to what you care about. That's a whole nother level, isn't it?
I think what's even cooler than that is the fact that you applied it to your own books and what you have coming out. I will tell you full transparency, because I know the way books are written, there is a lot of storytelling, right? To try to reinforce an idea.
And that's good.
It's good. I get the idea though with the first one. So
and
then
you can, by the way, and you can read for
story.
entertainment, and it shouldn't be my way is the only way.
Sure.
So let me put that out there. Just an idea. Go ahead.
No. So when you put your own books through your LLM, if you will, and what you had to do, what was the outcome? And if you're open to it, because I know you haven't published this book yet, I know that's a mock-up. What are some of the big things that were the epiphanies or ahas?
Well, the first one is don't brag about the number of titles you read. Brag about the number of epiphanies you learn and incorporate it into your life to make your life more valuable every year.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
Here's another one. Everybody procrastinates. Not all procrastination is bad. Sometimes you need to think about something and make a decision the next day based on intuition. So I invented a concept called production before perfection. So many people, they freeze and don't get going. Get it going and perfect it. Man, I move at lightning speed. I don't stop. I get a concept. I got the book cover going in 4 minutes, right? And then guess what? I might miss. And then I got 6 more covers. And then I'm getting AI research. And then I'm asking somebody. And I'm blending stuff. And then so there's a couple of them. Production before perfection. Epiphanies count more than titles. Is that what you're looking for, Tanya?
Yeah, like the nuggets that people can kind of grasp onto.
How about the strangest secret from Earl Nightingale? You become what you think about. I have vision boards in like 6 of my environments. Like when you drive in my 2,000 square foot hangar garage, you're looking right straight at it, right, Tammy? Right straight at my vision board, right? I mean, I'm like putting it in my head. When I'm working out, I'm over there looking at it. When I drive in here, I'm looking at it. When I walk in my closet, I'm looking at it. When I go in my office, I'm looking at it. Like, man, I'm putting it in my head. Make me think about it, attract it, right?
Yeah. Well, our brains are computers, right? Computers were built initially designed to try to mimic a human brain. And what you put into it, you get out of it. Therefore, if what you tell it is, I'm not good at this, you're not going to be good at this.
Tony, how much of your meetings and communication are being recorded today in a given week? Do you record 2, 3, 5, 10, 15 meetings?
Probably close to 10.
I record probably 50. And everywhere I go, I take 2 different recording devices. And when I run it through the recording, we asked AI to give me 3 things I can be better on. Whether I'm training, doing a podcast, whatever it is. So constantly, I'm having AI take and brief me on distinctions that I might have missed. And when I finish this today, it's going to go into AI and it's going to come out with 3 things that I can do better next time I do a podcast. How about that? Why do people not do that? Because they haven't been trained to think that way. I'm guessing. I don't know. Do you do that?
I wear Plod, but I don't wear it all the time like I probably should. I hadn't considered how to use that as a tool in order to, I like that. Because I
and
take
then
it when
apply
I
it
do
to
our
your
real
own
estate
goals.
convention.
If you put in your own rules, then you're not just taking generic goals, you're taking what you care about, right? What do you think, Tammy? You're on mute.
Can't hear you,
You're on
friend.
mute. You're on mute.
AI is life-changing, no doubt. And I think we're all applying it to business these days. And I think it has changed everyone's processes.
Mhm.
Yeah. Do you put in your AI what your kids' goals are?
No, not anymore, because
How
they've
about
already.
if you have AI helping you make sure and reinforce what's important to them,
Yeah, that's good.
and then communicate according to their personality style
Oh, that's
and
good.
alignment with their values. You know, what I mean, just so AI is a game changer, isn't it? It's so cool. I mean, we could do 3 hours on that one.
Well,
Right.
yeah, I've got a friend that is in tech, really writes code for AI and all of that. And
He's opposed to AI?
No, he writes code. Like
Oh, okay. So he's not
he
opposed.
helps create the
Yep.
LLMs that we use. And he said the whole purpose of AI is to take on those skills, those tasks. That way we can go be human beings rather than the human doings.
That's cool. That's a good one.
Right? If it's a skill or a task that can be assigned to AI, let it do it. So you can go be a human being. You can be with your kids more. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Be a great time.
As we're starting to wrap up, I want to make sure that we kind of get this last one in for sure. For the person watching who has a big vision but feels scattered, behind, or unsure where to start, what is the first honest move they need to make this week?
They need to come to the Results Center.
Okay. They're just welcome to show up at the Results Center?
No, they need to make an appointment. We do want to invite people that are listening to understand and look up the Results Center and see how cool it is. It has so many years of 40 years of my best practices in the best practices wall. If they're not going to come here, and the question you ask is, where might you start?
First honest move they need to make this week.
Be super, super clear on your goals.
Yeah.
Everybody can go to this level. Like 178 pages of distinctions I have so far, and I'm polishing it every day. What can I learn more? How can I sharpen it more? Get super clear on what you want. You manifest it. Things come in your life. You meet people. Things happen intuitively or intentionally. If you write it down, be clear, type it, put it in front of you, read it, review it every day. Would you guys grab my laminated? Let me end with this. Can you grab my laminated goals for a second? Peter and I started this deal, Tammy, 4 years ago. We do an annual summit together on his yachts. And we both showed up at one summit with laminated goals, and we did not both know we were doing it. We were going to share it with the other person, and we both were doing it. And we laminate the goals for each year, and it says achieving my best life. And each year, then I go through it and I look at my epiphanies and my HLAs and my personal manifesto. And I just think, Tanya, most people that will be listening today could go to another level on goal setting. And if you're comparing yourself, which you probably are, that are listening to the number of goals and all the stuff I've done, let me be a motivation, not a deterrent. Start.
Sure.
If you're at a half a page, great. 2 pages, great. 6 items, great. Then 10, then more. I want to be a motivator, not a discourager. Not like I can't do that, or that's good for Tony, right? I looked at other people, that did it,
Now, if they want to make an appointment to come to the Results Center, is that through TonyJeary.com as well, or is there a different site?
Nope, TonyJeary.com. That'd be great.
You got it.
Yep. Reach out and see. For the most part, though, I help companies grow, Tanya. That's my deal. Occasionally people will bring their teams in, and occasionally some people will individually hire me, but that's very, very occasionally.
Yeah. Tony, thank you so much. That you gave us so many nuggets.
Thank you guys.
Tammy, thank you
so
for
fun.
co-hosting.
We tried to
Yeah.
jam a lot in, didn't we?
So
Not tried.
fun.
We
So
jammed a lot.
much. Let's see how many nuggets it pulls out of it.
I am going to
Thanks,
go.
everyone.
I'm going to go pull that up.
There you go. Take care, everyone. We'll see you next week.
See you guys. Good job.